This next stock might be appealing to a lot of you. Diageo, ticker symbol is DGE on the London Stock Exchange, and on the New York Stock Exchange, the ticker symbol is DEO. At the moment, it costs £28.49 per share. It pays 2 dividends per year, and the current yield is about 2.5%. The previous two dividends were for 30.83 pence and 49.17 pence per share. So Diageo has just recently had its sharpest drop in stock price since 1997, which is actually the same year that the company was founded. And the reason behind it, from what I could see, is that they had to issue a profit warning, especially for Latin America, saying that sales are not going to be as high as they expected. But on the plus side, they have raised their dividend every year for the last 36 consecutive years. And over the last 10 years, they've raised their dividend by an average of about 5.5% per year. So I started my position in Diageo on the 21st of June of 2021, and I'm about 23% down. So I'm probably going to put a tenner into it today. Actually, I'll make it €20 and I'll do it now before I forget. So scoop up a little dip there, but to be honest, it'll probably drop a little bit more because the news about weaker profits has just been released. So this is just the initial reaction. So Diageo is based in the United Kingdom, and it's a manufacturer and distributor of drinks, mainly alcoholic drinks, spirits and beer. So they own about 200 brands, and they sell their products in 180 countries, operating from 123 sites around the world. And their principal products include Scotch whisky, other whiskies, and a fun fact for the day: if whiskey is spelled with an E, it's either Irish or American, and if it's spelled with no E, it's either Scotch, Canadian, or Japanese. So there's a new one for you. And they also sell vodka, tequila, rum, liqueurs, beer, wine, and no or low alcohol beverages. So a lot of brands that you might recognize: Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, Tanqueray, Baileys, Guinness. They're very often referred to as a drinks giant. They've got 30,000 employees around the world and a massive market cap, which is their value on the stock market, £73 billion. The current price to earnings ratio indicates that Diageo is trading at a lower ratio than its peers, which indicates that it's at a good price at the moment, according to that one metric. Current revenue is about £17 billion. They have a £1.90 earnings per share, and the dividend yield is a little low, 2.5%, but as I said, they are good for raising the dividend. So I'll leave this small financial summary here if you want to have a read of it. But their profit margin over the last year is 21%, which is good, and over the last quarter is 24%. So although particular sectors are not doing as well as they expected, they are still turning a good profit. Their debt, on the other hand, is not good. They have an annual debt to assets ratio of about 80%, and over the last quarter it's about the same, 79%. So they do owe quite a lot of money compared to the assets that they own. Their annual cash flow from operating is about £3 billion, from investing is about negative £1.2 billion, and from financing is about negative £2.4 billion. So some good, some bad, but we'll have a look at their long-term history now. So this is where we are now. It's about £28.50 per share, and it's getting close to the cheapest it's been in a year, which was £27.19. Unfortunately for a lot of companies, when interest rates go up and inflation goes up, everybody has a bit less cash to kind of splash out with, so profits are going to suffer across the board. But Diageo is one of those companies that sells a product that people will pay more and more for. There is obviously a lot of people who will say, right, I'm not going out drinking because it's too expensive, but unfortunately there is a lot of other people who will pay for it regardless of the price. So like companies that sell tobacco, energy companies that pump oil, this could be considered as a sin stock, but long term I can see them recovering because they are in a position where they can just up their prices if they have to fill any holes in their balance sheet. Short term though, I do think they'll probably drop a little bit more. I'm not going to wait to find out. I'd rather just buy small pieces and hold it for as long as possible. And as you can see from this graph, the potential for growth and investment with Diageo does kind of compensate for the pretty small dividend yield, although it's not the worst. I do have some companies that pay less than 1%, but especially when you're new to dividend investing, it's hard to see the appeal of something that only pays a very small percent per year based purely on the dividend yield. But the yield is just one metric in a whole toolbox of methods of how to value a company long term. Now, Diageo pays 2 dividends per year, and I can't really see any special or bonus dividends. Now, who knows what the immediate future will hold? I certainly don't know for sure. But I think if you have a long-term goal with dividend investing, Diageo is a good pick. And the next ex-dividend date, which is the deadline before which you have to have owned the stock if you want to get the next dividend, is the 29th of February of next year. So hopefully they keep this 5% per year growth in dividend payouts going long into the future. So to wrap it up, Diageo Stock. On the London Stock Exchange, the ticker symbol is DGE, and on the New York Stock Exchange, the ticker symbol is DEO. It's about £28.50 a share at the moment. Pays 2 dividends per year. The last two were for 30.8 pence and 49.1 pence per share. Doesn't seem to pay much bonus dividends. It has a 2.5% dividend yield at the moment. It's raised the dividend every year for the last 36 years in a row. It's raised it by an average of 5% per year for the last 10 years. Their profits are good, about 20% profit margin in the last year. Their debt is a bit high, about 80% debt to assets ratio, and they're not expecting their profits to be great in the immediate future. So although right now might not be a great time to buy it, I do think you should keep an eye on it. But anyway, that's all for this one, and let me know what you think about Diageo stock.